And
all right, good morning, everybody. We're so sorry about the delay in posting this. Man, I really do need to become friends with an IT person and get some training. That's why I do books, not IT, right? Like, focus on what you specialize in and let the others do the rest for you. Anyways, I'm Britta Scott with Britta's Bookkeeping and Payroll, for those of you that don't know me. And I am asked Bill Syddall from A Link Insurance to join me today. Thank you so much, Bill, for being here. So grateful for your time and for your tech savviness and helping us overcome these technical difficulties.
happy to help. Thanks for the invitation. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, well, so a few weeks ago, Bill, I heard you do a presentation about cybersecurity and the issues that we're facing right now. And honestly, I was terrified. It was one of those things where I just the whole time just sat there like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. And other people in the room expressed the same sentiment. And I loved what you said, that as long as you're prepared, you really don't need to worry. And that's exactly what you do, right? You help people so that they don't have to worry. Anyways, through that presentation, I was just like, other people need to hear this information. This is something that needs to be shared so that people can be prepared and not have to worry. So I would love to just like pick your brain here for the next, 10 minutes and get some tips and tricks on what we can do as small business owners to be prepared for, whatever can come. So I feel like in that presentation, you mentioned that this has increased since COVID had happened. And I know you've been in the industry for a long time. So can you share a little bit about what you've seen and the changes that have come since COVID?
Absolutely. And I definitely agree with your sentiment there, or statement, that knowledge is power. And that's really what I want to do today, is just help provide some education so business owners can just make some decisions on how to mitigate some of the exposure and risk that we live in a cyber world that we work in and interact in on a daily basis. So yeah, basically the volumes and what I've seen is a dramatic shift since COVID hit. And when everybody back in March of 2020 was forced to go home and businesses had to scramble to figure out how they were going to conduct operations and connectivities and service their clients remotely, it really changed a lot of things. And it opened up a lot of what I might call Pandora boxes for hackers to be able to connect and start gaining access and insert their spyware, Trojans, and worms to go to work for them. So with that, I'll just share some of those alarming or quote unquote frightening statistics. And it's not a scare tactic, it's an awareness tactic, just so we as business owners can just be wise and plan accordingly. So specifically, one of the carriers that I worked with, they reported to me that as of March of 2020, they saw on average about 150 claims, and this is just one carrier a month coming into them. That was a 40% increase from the number of claims, and these are specifically cyber claims that were coming into them from pre-March 2020 dates. 35% of those claims were tied to ransomware, where people's data was being held hostage or their production and operational systems were being locked down and held hostage by the ransomware attackers, stating, you pay us money and then we will release your data and let your operations go again. And many of those were also being threatened with, well, we've got a lot of sensitive data on your customers. You don't pay us, we're going to release that out on the dark web and sell it out there. So that was a huge increase. In fact, 35% of those claims were for that specifically. And that average ransomware payment that people are seeing is about $140,000 was the average payment requests that these guys were asking for. So we've seen a number of alarming trends occur. The FBI has even reported a 69% increase over 2019, with nearly 792 filed complaints about cyber and hacked incidences to them. And unfortunately, many of these things are happening from safe harbor countries where the FBI has no jurisdiction or the United States has no jurisdiction. So this is a multi-billion-dollar industry that's impacting businesses and small businesses. Over 55% of the attacks are hitting smaller businesses with 100 to or fewer employees. So it's a real deal. It's quite alarming. And I know that's what scared a number of the folks in this presentation that I gave that you alluded to.
Yeah, that's those are the exact things that I was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So, I mean, there's things we can do to protect our computer, and that's a conversation for an IT person.
Right.
But far as the insurance, like what are the kind of things that we can do to protect us as a business owner from these different cyber losses?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. I think the first and foremost thing is to make sure you as a business owner understand your existing policies and make sure that you're speaking with your insurance advisors to realize that your general liability or business owner's policy may or may not extend coverage for cyber. And if there is an endorsement with a cyber coverage, it may be minuscule and only cover one or two types of cyber incidences and not the broad spectrum of risk that you are incurring by operating a business in today's cyber world. Some of those broad coverages that I would allude to that you want to maybe look at your form and make sure you're understanding are, do you have ransomware payment coverage? And if so, what is that amount? And I get asked all the time, well, what is the right amount? What should I have? And I can just share the averages. The average is $140,000 is what people are asked to pay. Some of those might only be $5,000 or $2,000. Others might be in the millions of dollars. It really depends on the company, the sensitivity of the data, and how breached you really are. So you want to have ransomware coverages. You want to have data and system recoveries payments capable for your business. It's going to cost you money to hire a forensic investigator to come in and figure out what happened, what was breached, what data has been accessed, and that's got to be paid for somehow. And those services aren't inexpensive. These individuals know what they're doing, and they will charge for their hourly services. Business interruption. When this happens, if you've got a ransomware attack or your production is halted, you're losing money as a business owner. You cannot do what you're set up to do. So will your cyber policy pay out for the business interruption? And if so, what dollar levels and so forth? Reputational harm. Your goodwill of your business can be damaged significantly with some type of a cyber attack, especially if it goes public to a lot of your clients and the client base in your community. There are services that you can use to help mitigate that, to help promote that. And you may have some of those in-house. A lot of the larger organizations have huge HR departments and communication divisions and so forth, that how to interact with the media and whatnot. But a lot of small and mid-sized companies just don't have those resources. And then all the liability associated with you getting sued. If you are sued or someone that you've contracted to provide services for you and they're breached and they are sued, you can get pulled into that due to your contractual relationships, a third-party liability. Does your cyber policy extend coverages for the defense costs where you get pulled in as a third party, not necessarily the first party, when an attack occurs? So those are just a few of many penalties. One other one I should mention is the government and other regulatory penalties and fines that you can be assessed that exist, tens of thousands of dollars. And then even the credit card industries. If you are not securing the way in which you're conducting business and in gathering payment information, and that is breached, you can incur numerous costs associated with that from the credit card companies as well. So a broad cyber policy is going to make sure all of those things are managed and give you kind of what I like to say, that peace of mind, knowing that your business and your financials are not at risk and at jeopardy should something happen coming out of your own pocket.
Oh, wow. So many great things that you mentioned there that, I would never think that I would be liable for all these different aspects of a cyber attack. But man, so good. Knowledge is power, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, we could talk about this all day, but just before we, cut off, is there anything else that you would like to share? Like some, bits of wisdom coming from a master that's been in this business for a while that anybody should know to help them out?
Yeah, I would say the biggest weakness we have isn't our technologies many times, it's the human factor, it's our human element. And people will attack us based on humans. We want to help people naturally, and we want to solve things naturally. So social engineering is being used very, very well with elaborate schemes by these individuals and organizations to get us to click on things, to get us to quickly respond to things, to make us feel like there's something we need to do. And it's causing millions of wires to be sent to the wrong destinations in real estate industries. It's causing a number of people to give payments and share money freely and give data about themselves on the open market. What I would say is when you're interacting with any technology, with an email, when you get a request that seems too good to be true, always stop and think before you click. Where did this come from? Do I know the source? And if you can't say yes to those questions, don't click on it. Don't expose and open your system, your handheld device, your desktop, your laptop, to be exposed to have these spywares and Trojans inserted into your applications and into your servers at your work. Train your employees. In fact, a lot of the good cyber companies will provide free training to your employees and staff on how to see these phishing attacks and these social engineering attacks and to mitigate those. So I would just say stop and think before you act, and feel free to reach out to your insurance advisors and have them really go through your forms and make sure they're discussing the coverages that you have in place. I think that's going to be the best thing business owners can do.
Right along those lines, we'll have to post this video, but you shared a video when you did that presentation, and it was like at a cyber conference, right? Like like teaching people how to mitigate these kind of things. Anyways, there was a gentleman doing the video, and one of the he's like, "Oh, I'm sure my bank account's safe." And in that video, the lady called his bank, and within a minute, she acted like she had a crying baby on her shoulder and was just like, "Oh, can't you just help me? I can't get in." And within like a couple of minutes, the bank had given her complete access to his accounts and was able to basically clean him out. So
Yeah.
like you said, stop and think before you act. We are human. We want to help people. And, even, it comes through a computer, it comes through your phone calls, just be careful in everything you do. So thank you so much. I'm going to post Bill's information. If anybody wants to reach out to him and has any additional questions, I'll put that below the video. But he's awesome, obviously, so knowledgeable. So thank you so much for taking the time to teach us and help us to be prepared just in case of a problem. So
Absolutely, Brett. Thank you very much. I look forward to assisting any way I can. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.